Welcome back to the Religious Treehouse. I'm Jody.
And I'm Matthew.
How are you doing today, Matthew?
I'm doing awful, Jody. You made me watch a horrible movie, and now we have to talk about it. I have to relive it. I have to reimagine what we just watched, and it's all your fault. So I'm doing horrible. How are you doing?
Well, I don't think it's fully on me. You put the movie on the list. I just selected a movie off of the list you gave me.
Listen, I have a list of movies that are like vaguely related to religion. It's not an extensive list. It's just a list of movies that I thought, oh yeah, there's something to do with religion and that, and I put it on the list. I didn't endorse any of those movies. I just said it exists, and this movie was your choice. You're to
If
blame.
we were between this and The Conjuring because it's Halloween week,
Hmm.
and I chose Midsommar because I
Yeah,
like Florence Pugh. Sue me.
we'll figure out how to do that.
Matthew needs to sue for damages. Yeah. So vaguely about religion, I guess.
Well, yeah, like there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I would argue that this is more about anthropology, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely, definitely see that. How are we going to approach this? Because so far with alternative religious movements, we've
Mm,
been very respectful. We've been very open-minded. We
mm.
have approached these things in a very delicate manner. This was a movie about some crazy people.
I think we have different interpretations of this movie. I think we hated it for opposite reasons.
Well,
Uh,
let's discuss first, I guess, why you hated it.
yeah, I mean, okay, first off, like, trigger warnings of all variety. And second warning, I don't remember any of the names of any of the people. So like if you haven't seen this movie, um, then you're not going to understand a thing that I'm about to say because nothing that I'm going to say is going to make any sense. That you might hear that as like, hey, go watch this movie, then listen to this podcast. That's not my recommendation. My recommendation is if you've already gone through the torture of watching this movie, listen to this podcast. If you haven't like gone through the horrors of this movie, you can absolve yourself from both the rest of this podcast and the movie. So, that being said, um, it was pretty, except for the parts where it was very ugly. Um, but the reason I hated this movie is I learned that I am not built for horror movies. Like, arguably, this could be a good movie, but I'm not one that can say that. I'm not one that can give validity or invalidity to the quality of a horror movie. To me, all horror movies are bad. And that's why I hated this movie.
Fair enough. I actually enjoyed it for a horror movie. Like this is my type of horror. It I like there wasn't a lot of jump scares. So I guess we do differ
Sure,
on that. But
sure. Whereas a jump scare, I'm not opposed. It's fun. A jump scare is funny to me,
no.
but this one was just like, hey, let's mess with your mind and be really gory for no reason.
No, some guy flat tired me at Costco and then grabbed my shoulders. That was a jump scare to me today. And I was like, no, actually, I can do
Well,
without that.
sure. Public interaction, like that's not a fine way of horror. Um, but yeah, like who knows? Who knows where this conversation is going to go? We're going to talk about some of it and maybe even all of it, but who knows? Who knows?
So what else did you hate?
Let's just start at the beginning. Let's start at the
Okay.
beginning and talk about what we remember. What
Okay.
I particularly remember from the beginning is like, again, trigger warnings. Like, just start with like the murder suicide of this woman's sister. And it's like, okay, this is how we're starting it. I will say, I was worried that was going to be the tone for the whole movie. The tone did shift, and I think the bright colors helped with that.
Yeah.
But not my favorite start to a movie. Arguably my least favorite start to a movie. A real downer, a real bummer, but Chidi Anagonye was in it, and that boosted it immediately. I was like, okay, I can deal with this. I know Chidi's in this, and That's not his real name. I don't remember what his real name is. I just know him as Chidi Adeganye from The Good Place. Um, what's his
Yeah.
real name?
Oh, I will pull up the IMDb
I
for
want to
this.
I want to say it's like William Harper Jennings, but that could be so wrong. William, he's a three name guy. Anyways, Chidi, as I'll be referring to him henceforth, uh, and his friend Will Poulter, who is his real name. I don't remember his name in the movie. And their other two friends, Christian is their name in the movie. The problem with this conversation, Jody,
Hmm.
who no one listens to this episode, it's just gonna be me rambling about things that don't make sense. Is I remember three of their names, one of them from the movie, one of them from reality, and one of them from a fictional TV show.
Yeah, his name is William Jackson Harper. In the movie, he was Josh. Will Poulter was Mark.
Okay.
Wilhelm Blomgren was Pele,
Mm,
the one from the Community. Jack Rayner was Christian, and Florence Pugh was Danny.
okay.
So,
Right.
Pele invited his friends. They all seem to be anthropology students, Christian, Josh, and Mark, to
Mm,
come to his family's commune. It was Sweden,
Sweden.
Sweden, and Danny, who had just lost her parents and her sister, was
Mm,
very depressed. They were trying to get Christian to break up with Danny, but then her whole family died. And so, how do you break up with a girl after that?
sure.
And so he was like, yeah, I'm going to invite her to come with us. She's not actually going to go. Spoiler alert, she went.
Mm,
And yes, the mood definitely does change. And the first thing that happens when they're there is they take a drug of some sort.
And let's get into some of my least favorite parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Um, her hands sprouting grass or legs or whatever it was that like sprouted grass.
Yes.
Uh, that grossed me out. That was not good in my eyes. Um, was not a fan of that by any means. And we haven't even gotten to like any of the gore yet. It was just like grass growing out of a hand in like, computer animation CGI type stuff. Wasn't a
Becoming
fan.
one, becoming one with the earth in this community.
And hey, I'm a fan of that. Becoming one with the earth. Yeah, not literally. I don't literally want to be a fan of that. But metaphorically, sure. The problem is they took the step from the metaphor to the literal, and I said, not for me anymore.
And that turns your tummy.
It turned my tummy.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know why. I like that kind of stuff, but I don't
I
like Coraline, which does that kind of stuff too, I think.
It does what does?
Coraline with the
No,
buttons and the eyes.
I don't know that.
Never mind. Sorry.
Okay.
Continue.
Anyways, I don't think it was meant to be gross. I don't think that was
Yeah.
the intention. I think that was just a personal preference of mine.
Yeah. That's okay.
Hey, you live and you learn.
Continue on with your hates.
Um, so they have their drug trip. And I thought that was going to be it. I thought, okay, this is going to be the analysis of the movie. We're going to talk about like the intersection between, psychedelics and religion. We'll talk about like, Timothy Leary and like those types of people. But that was like a small part of it until later. Uh, until later. Um, um, but yeah, what happens next? What do they
So
go
they
into the
took the
community?
psychedelics and then they further traveled to the commune where they met the actual people
Mm,
and they were introduced to Pele's brother
mm,
and the two people he brought, Connie and Simon.
mm,
His brother's name was Ulf and his sister's name was Maja. And we learn that everyone is kind of brother and sister there. You learn a little bit more about the dynamics of the commune,
mm,
that they view their life in 18-year increments, and there's
mm,
4 stages to life, and they live in one specific kind of space altogether for 2 stages
mm.
until you're 36. And they all kind of help raise each other. And we don't get into the implications of there being such a limited population quite yet, but you kind of get the feeling that there's something weird going on.
Right, and this brings up 2 points that you reminded me of.
Mhm.
Because at the very beginning, when Florence Pugh, I need to just figure out the names of these characters. But whenever
Yeah.
Florence Pugh was talking to um, what's
Which
his
one?
face, Wilhelm, I brought the IMDb page
Yeah.
up so I can look at these Pele.
Okay.
Whenever Florence Pugh was talking to Pele, um, she said, "Oh, you live on like a commune, right?" And then he intentionally said, "I live in a small community."
Mm,
And I think that's, on the one hand of how we've talked before, like there's loaded language with how we talk about these alternative religious movements or cults. And commune is one of those words that has a very negative connotation. And so people who live in a commune or a community aren't going to call it a commune because of the negative implications. And I think that's important for us to acknowledge as we talk about these religious um, sects. I'm okay with calling this a commune. And the negative implications that it has because it's fictional. But
yeah.
like I think when we're talking about like real type situations, I think we should be very more no, we
Should
should
be
be
more mindful.
more mindful of how the language we use affects, vibes.
Yeah. Because
And the second thing is I thought that was, fairly because to my knowledge, this is an entirely fictionalized religious group community. But like the idea of having set practices or set cycles to understand life and how that works, it makes sense. Like it's actually, kind of beautiful in that sense until, we get to age 72. But like and it's fairly common to have these, landmarks in religions and societies and stuff like that. Um, you have quinceañeras and uh, bar and bat mitzvah and all those types of things. So separating up life cycles into distinct ages, like it makes sense and isn't unheard of. So I thought that was kind of neat. It was very clear that they were going to kill people and they got to 72. They kind of like tried to like push that off, like, oh, we don't know what happens when they hit 72. Um, the foreshadowing was, very evident. I don't think they hid the foreshadowing very much or very well, but hey,
but
people
hey.
die.
And when we're getting introduced to these life cycles, we also see the yellow building that we're told is a shrine of some sort,
Mm,
and a bear, which we're told is
the
just a
bear.
bear. Just walk by. It is just a bear.
Right. And that's kind of what's the thing in film studies where like you see something in the first act, it'll be in the third act or whatever.
Yeah,
Um, what's that? Chekhov's gun?
I guess
Yeah, I
you
think
would
that's
know.
Chekhov's gun. I expected the bear to attack people, so I guess surprised. I was going to say pleasantly surprised, but no, just surprised.
And then after you see the bear, you get this tapestry panning
Mm,
of this woman seeing a man. It's kind of like a love story playing out where you see her shave her pubic hair, put it into a pie, bleed into a drink, and then give it to the man. And that foreshadows what happens later. But I was like, are they just giving us the entire plot now? And no,
mm.
that just played out a little bit through it.
Yeah, a love
But
potion.
yeah, yeah, love potion. And then they dine with them. They get to meet them a little more. They find out they're going to see this ceremony tomorrow, and
Mm,
they hear the name of it. And the Josh is kind of like, is that real? So he has an inkling of what's going on. It seems Christian has an inkling. Absolutely no one warns Danny.
right,
And we get to the next day where we get our first ceremony.
right.
And
Explain
they
to us what happens in that ceremony.
so as the beautiful cycle of life ends at the age of 72, individuals thrust themselves off of a cliff onto a rock.
Mm.
And if you miss the rock, don't worry. There's a hammer, and four individuals strike you with the hammer.
So here's my
Finish it.
problem.
Yeah.
My problem solely, the only problem I have with this scene, and I'm sure it's going to be different for you. I'm sure you have different problems with this scene,
Yeah.
and maybe this is problematic of me for to say this, is how bloody it was and how gory it was. Like that, like I don't need to see that. Like I get a little grossed out by that, and this is why I gave the movie 1 star. Not because it was a bad movie.
Wow.
I'm not giving this a bad review because it's a bad movie. I'm giving it a bad review because I hated it. I want that to be very clear. But yeah,
Yeah.
gross. I want to hear your thoughts before I talk about my thoughts.
I feel it could have been just as impactful without some of the things we were shown. There too much flesh flying. There was
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah. I didn't love that people bounce when they jump off a cliff. That
No.
wasn't needed. I could have gone
Uh,
for a flat splat.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, so my thoughts on this. First off, I this is a supposed, I don't know if it's real, but this is a supposed ancient tradition from like Nordic communities. Like I have heard of this. I don't know enough about it to speak authoritatively about anything like this. But it is something that I've heard of, not necessarily meaning that it's real, but that it is something that has thought to have maybe happened like way back in history.
Okay.
Um, Secondly, I think this brings up a good question of anthropology and
Mhm.
how do we act when studying different cultures, um, and their traditions when they vastly differ from what we see as normative.
Well, with ethnocentrism,
Mhm.
you must be mindful of your own culture's outlooks on things and mindful of the cultures you're studying because this is their life cycle. This is their cultural life cycle.
Mhm.
So they had me up till there. I understood why Connie and Simon lost their minds,
Mhm.
but I also understood why Christian and Josh were immediately like, this is the thesis.
Yeah,
This is the community. This is something not seen
right.
and much around because it's supposed to be in modern times. But
Mhm.
you're right. It is a good question for anthropologists to answer. Like, what is the ethical code?
Right. Because like strictly speaking, like I like understand what Chidi and Christian were like that makes sense to me. Like this is a very different culture that you're not accustomed to. The way that they do things differ. And like, okay, cool. We respect that. Now, that's not to say I would have stuck around.
Yeah.
Like I would have been out of there like very, very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
But I would have said, I would have alerted people. I would
Yeah.
have been out of there and I would have alerted people. But
Yeah.
I would also be like, okay, this is what y'all do.
Yeah.
Gonna leave you to it.
Yeah.
So yeah, very
Which Simon
interesting.
tried to do. Simon and Connie tried to leave. They shouldn't have separated. This is when I
Mhm.
started screaming at the screen. I'm like,
Right,
why are you separating?
right. That's the point where you say, "Hey, friends, group meeting here. We have a car. Let's get out of here ASAP." Um, and anyone that says no, we'll keep it out, you leave them. You say, "This is your problem. You've chosen this." And okay, and we're gonna be getting ahead of ourselves here. Like
Got it.
this is like foreshadowing, not
Yeah.
foreshadowing, but getting rid of the end.
Mm-hmm.
Our man, who's Pele, knew that this
Mm-hmm.
was going to happen. Knew that like they were going to like kill all of his friends that he brought over, and he's chill with it. He's like, "Cool, we're killing all my friends." That's the problem. That's where I have my problem. Like, if you want to keep like this community based, like, sure, that's weird. That's like your culture. But the second you bring people outside of your culture into your culture to murder them, that's where the horror comes in. That's where the problem for sure is.
Yes, that is for sure where the problem lies, but that was his whole point of him going where he went and there was a reason he and his brother both brought people.
Right.
And I do wonder what they would have done if Danny hadn't come. Because oh no, they still
Yeah,
no no
they
no no
still
no.
would have. Yeah,
Would have had enough.
yeah, would have had plenty. They prepared, then they had an extra and said, "Okay, cool,
Yeah,
we'll work with it."
you're right. You're right. They had enough people. But yeah, do we want to just skip to that or do we want to keep going through
Hey, up
the
to you. You're in
each
charge.
thing? I mean, I let me just run you through this real quick because people start dropping like flies. So Connie and Simon, they are taken care of. Simon, they're told he went to a station. He didn't go to a station. Connie then goes to look for Simon. They then hear a woman screaming in the woods later and they claim it's something else. We get Mark, who pees on a sacred tree. And there's this girl who's kind of flirting with him. He goes off with her at one point. Josh, yes.
And this, and again, don't take me seriously on anything that I'm saying here. But
Yeah.
if you have a sacred relic, if you have something that's, very, very important to you, mark it, like put up a plaque in front of it and say like, "Hey guys, like be careful." Also, hey, these are strangers here who don't know our ways of what's going on here. Hey, just a heads up, stay away from that really, really important tree of ours. Communication. I think communication, you
Yeah.
know, there's a lot of plot holes in this movie, and I think maybe that's why it scares me because you just don't know what could happen. They're just killing people left and right, and you don't know why because it doesn't care. We're just like filling in plot holes. That guy's got to die. Why is he going to die? Because he peed on a tree.
Yeah. And he eventually find out he had his penis cut off. Josh and Christian are very much pursuing studying this for their theses.
Mhm.
Pele is acting kind of reluctant, but also helping them because, like, he knows they're going to die, but he also needs to put on enough of a play for them so
Yeah.
they don't know they're going to die. So they show them their book. They have a text.
Mhm.
And Josh goes back late one night to look at it and he dies.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is when I noticed, which I think is a common trope in horror films,
Mm.
where, and I could be wrong here because, as you can tell by my reaction, I don't watch a lot of horror. But
Yeah.
I think a common trope is you have a character who does something wrong. He has a character flaw. He has like, a character arc that doesn't complete well. Like there's a flaw with him.
Mm.
And in order to reconcile that flaw, they get a punishment that far exceeds what they deserve.
Mm.
And we see that with essentially all the characters in the movie. With Will Poulter, after he pees on the tree, he gets murdered. Like, okay, don't pee on the sacred tree. That doesn't mean you deserve to die. With Chidi, he took pictures of their sacred text that they're not supposed to take pictures of, and um, like, okay, that's not good. He should like a rightful punishment to that. Like, no, you're no longer allowed to write about this or something like that. Get out of here.
Yeah.
But again, the punishment is heightened, and he's dead. And then we see with Christian, he's a bad boyfriend. We see that throughout the whole movie. Um, except at
You
the
get
end, he was a good boyfriend at the end, and I'm going to stand by that. And we'll talk about that later. Um, but then, like for being a bad boyfriend, his punishment is more than it deserves, and he dies. So everyone is like, it's this heightened sense of punishment, and I think that adds to the horror element of it.
yeah. He Christian eats the pubic hair pie, drinks
Right.
the menstrual blood drink, kind of gets the sense that Maja wants to freak with him.
Mhm.
And, during all of this, Danny has Pele hitting on her
Mhm.
and is learning more about the community and how they do things together. And we're not alone. We're never alone. He's
Mhm.
like, my parents died in a fire, which I want to talk about.
Oh my
And
goodness, I didn't even put that connection together. Sorry. Okay.
and he's like,
Okay.
when I was young. And so, and during this, we also learn that those who have been produced from inbreeding are thought to have a more what were the words they used? Do you remember?
I don't remember the words
An
they used.
unclouded judgment or something, unclouded intuition, kind of.
Yeah.
The unclouded vision, they're just more pure if they're born from inbreeding. But they
Mm.
say they do bring in new blood.
Yeah.
And you're kind of like, well, where did this does that new blood come in? And then you find out more later. But we'll continue on. So Christian's a bad boyfriend.
Mm.
Danny's yearning for something. This entire time, Danny's going through struggles, and I feel like we're really overlooking that because this movie is about Danny.
Yeah.
And in her mind, she has just lost her entire family. Her boyfriend's kind of a douche. She even
Mm.
says that because Connie thought that Simon left without her, and Danny's
Yeah.
like, you would have done that, to me. So you see her come to this realization and she's
Mm.
being accepted by all of
Yeah.
these lovely people to her.
And I think the way that we've kind of, I think the reason why we've kind of skipped over what Danny's doing, Florence Pugh, if you will, is because she's such a passive character. Like all of the events that happen, like very, very few of them are her actively doing it, but what we see rather is the events through her perspective, like and her reactions to them. So like, and I think that was very well done in like centering her as the very clear main character, but she doesn't do much. Rather, she's present during all of the action, and we see her, you know, grief and terror and fear and eventual acceptance.
Yeah. So now we are up to everyone is dead except for Christian and
Mhm.
Danny. Christian is taken to see the head lady and he's given a psychedelic.
Mhm.
And while that's happening, Danny is competing for the May Queen. She doesn't know that, but she's given a psychedelic. And the whole thing with their May Queen is they all dance around. And I think I don't know if that's actually how it does. I wouldn't be surprised if it's like dancing around and the last one standing is a May Queen. I don't know. You could
I don't,
I don't know. I feel like I should have done some research on that before this episode. But anyways, the last one standing is the May Queen here. So
yeah.
she's twirling around while her boyfriend is thrusting into another woman in
No,
this.
no, the boyfriend, like the boy, Christian is watching the
You're
dance,
right.
but as
You're
she's
right.
being celebrated,
Yeah.
that's when they
Take him to thrust.
drug him. Yeah,
You're so right. You're so right. Because he gets drugged at the dinner. So never
right,
mind.
right.
Danny becomes May Queen. While she's doing her ritual, he's doing another ritual.
Mhm. And I think the movie does a really good job at bouncing between rituals that we see as like really pure and exciting and good, and like I think it's really easy to look at the dancing rituals like, oh, that's fun and exciting and good community. And after they do it, they're all like very supportive of each other, and it was fun and good. But like it bounces back and forth between like fun, good traditions and like horror traditions that we would see as like horrifying.
Can we talk about the distortion of the food at the table and the flowers on her crown breathing?
Absolutely, we can. My favorite part of the movie.
I hated that
Oh
so
my.
much. It reminded me of Justin Bieber's Yummy music video and oh,
That means nothing to me.
I know it does.
Um, but I thought that was like I saw it like they first started singing, I saw it and I thought, hold on, was that intentional or do they have like really bad special effects here? So I like backed it up a little, like, oh no, that was very intentional because it like kept happening. And like we never got a clear view of the food on the table, and I
Mm-mm.
was convinced that they were going to be cannibals.
Oh
But
yeah.
it was just food,
Oh
right?
no no. There had to have been human organs. I'm sorry.
Sure.
They gutted Will Poulter and then made him a puppet.
Yeah,
They seem like the kind of people who use whatever's available.
valid. Okay, yeah.
Like I incest is fine. You're gonna tell me they're not cannibals?
Sure. Sure. Again, we're importing, very Western ideas onto this, but yeah,
I,
I
I
agree with your outrage.
I'm like ethnocentrism. And I'm like, no, but it's just weird, man. There's like a certain point, and it's just I don't know. I don't know. I'm very delicate when we talk about real people, but this is a fictional place.
Yeah. No,
So
I'm much more comfortable being like, yeah, that was weird with, fictional things.
I don't know. I did kind of like the movie. Anyways, moving on. So the flower breathing really freaked me out. I don't know why.
I loved it. That was like, yes, those are my flowers. They're moving and they're vibing. I like those flowers.
So they take her to go do her ritual, and then they take Christian to do his. And lying on a bed of flowers is this beautiful redhead surrounded by other naked women.
Mhm.
And as weird as it was, I did find a beauty to the collective feeling.
Hey, more power to you.
I don't know. I'm just like, that's interesting. That's an interesting thing.
Yeah, no, I'll sure. Interesting. Oh, that's a word.
I guess I
Um,
it, I wouldn't be shocked if there was a culture where they like. I mean, in medieval time, they used to watch couples copulate.
sure. But my problem with this scene,
Yeah,
and I think that which is very intentional, like this is like how this was
don't have sex on drugs. Also,
well, and that's the problem. Like he didn't do that consentingly. He
no,
was drugged
Yeah.
And like he was raped is what
Yes.
happened there.
Yeah.
And that's the problem with this scene. And I think that's adds to the horror of it. And there's just I don't know what they were trying to get from that scene.
I don't love the lack of consent. I do like the idea of collective feeling.
Well, but I think the lack of consent was intentional,
Yeah.
as like this is not something that he is to blame for.
No.
Um,
Because he didn't really like pursue her. She kept pursuing him.
yeah, like he was a bad boyfriend, but
Yeah.
he didn't cheat until he was drugged and then forced to cheat.
Yeah. I mean, they even pushed him from behind,
Right.
which was not super great. And then we have our May Queen discovering this after she did her little ritual, which she seemed very excited. Like Danny's having the time
Right.
of her life.
Well, they do a really good job of like progressing her, like becoming more and more immersed in the group.
Mm,
Um, like when they're making the pies, they she starts with like wearing like an apron of like their clothes, and she's like
mm.
the first one of them to like actually wear the clothes that they're wearing. And then as they're doing the dance, she's like, "Oh, I can speak your language." So she's very slowly throughout the movie becoming more and more immersed with um was it Helga, whatever their group is. Yeah.
But I couldn't tell you if I tried. I got to be honest because I
Yeah.
just the entire time we were watching the movie, I kept checking the time and I was like, how much longer do I have? Because it felt like it dragged. Like it was taking
Well,
forever to get somewhere.
I didn't feel that at all. I was also checking the time. I didn't feel like it was a drag, but um I felt it's like I was suffocating because it was horrifying. I was like, what's gonna happen? Um, but yeah, we had very different experiences with this movie.
I mean, I think maybe I'm just explaining it wrong because I did feel the suffocating. It just felt like I was underwater for so long.
Yeah.
Um, and then Christian gets out of his situation and begins to discover all of the bodies around the
That's
place.
true.
He sees Josh's foot up in the air. He
Poor
sees
Chidi.
Simon flayed with his lungs expanded, and it looked like he was still breathing,
Yeah, I don't know
which
about that.
which may have been the drugs
Sure.
because it looked like the lungs were expanding and decompressing.
I don't
Um,
know.
okay.
I don't
Anyways,
know. I think that was the drugs. I don't know.
yeah. Yeah. Anyways, he found the body and then he's knocked out.
Hmm.
We see them disembowel the bear and
Hmm.
teach the younger kid, and they show you the older men teaching the children how
Well,
to
well,
disembowel the bear.
first before that, the May Queen gets to decide because there's the ceremony at the very end. You get four outsiders and four volunteers,
Oh,
and
yes.
then the May Queen gets to decide the ninth person,
Hmm.
and she can choose between some random guy that we've never met in the movie or Christian, who she just saw, who she thinks cheating on him or cheating on her,
Yeah.
and she very evidently chooses Christian,
Yes.
who then we see within the bear suit that they disemboweled.
Yes. They disemboweled the bear to shove him in. And then they set up the nine bodies,
Hmm.
the two living individuals, the two dead people who died from jumping off the cliff. Those are the four people from this community. And
Hmm.
then Simon, Connie, Josh, and Mark. And finally, Christian in the bear suit with Danny sitting outside covered in flowers because she's the May Queen.
Again, very pretty.
Beautiful. Honestly, that may have also been what got to me, how jarring the juxtaposition was
Yeah.
between the horror and the beautiful cinematography. And can we talk about the way they used mirrors in
Yeah,
this?
yeah, I noticed that.
Like whether it was an actual mirror or like characters mirroring each other.
Mm.
It like kind of like she stepped through the looking glass into a new world.
Hmm.
It was very cool.
And then can we also talk about the breathing at the same time?
Mm,
Like they did it throughout the movie, like
yeah.
at like points of extreme emotion or anything. At any point, they all just started breathing together.
I can't believe we forgot this. When the second person jumped off the cliff at the 72 ritual and
Mhm.
they fell to the ground and they were and they that man was feeling pain. The collective was feeling pain too. The
Yeah,
collective didn't stop feeling pain until he was fully dead.
right.
So they showed that early on, and then when they start burning.
Well, yeah, and then like as Florence Pugh is screaming because um Christian was
Yeah,
cheating on her, they all start screaming with her and feel her pain too. And then as Christian is being raped, everyone is breathing together the same way there as well. So
yeah.
yeah, there's this definite collective emotion that is being presented, which adds to the horror. I
Yeah.
don't. It's. I think it's playing with this idea in religion of collective effervescence, but like it's expanding it for sure, and that's kind of an outdated term as well. But um, I think that is adding to the horror of like, oh, that's really weird and uncanny.
Yeah.
Okay, that's something we'll be showing.
So you see it one final time when they start to burn the bodies, which I think is what happened to Pele's parents. I think they offered themselves up
Right. Now,
because in sorry.
I was under the impression that this happened every 90 years. Isn't that what they were saying?
No, I think it happens every year.
Okay. I
Was
like it
it? Does it happen every 90 years?
well, like there's something that happens every 90 years that they were talking about, but also it's the May Queen. They had tons of like different May Queens, and it would make sense that it would happen every summer,
Yeah.
juxtaposed against like the winter where her parents and sister died. Um, but yeah, I feel like
Oh
there's
yeah, you're right. Every 90 years.
was it what was every 90 years? Because not all of it could have been every.
The major ritual, such as a midsummer sacrifice. So that's not how his parents died. Never mind.
Okay.
I was wrong.
Yeah, but it kind of feels like I don't know.
It feels like then how did they die in a fire? Then what happened and how did they die in a fire, guys? But also I think it's important to point out that they believe that the people who die in these rituals, they don't just die. They
Mhm.
are reborn back as babies, and the babies inherit the names of the people who have passed.
Mhm.
So it's not like they're just killing them. In their minds, they're killing them to rejoin them.
Yeah, and this is like the jumping off the cliff ritual, which is why like as an anthropologist looking onto it, like it kind of makes sense. Like they're not doing it against their will. They're doing it because that's just the way that they see the world. That's just the natural way that things happen.
Yeah.
And you know, in that sense, it's okay. Their time is up. Um, and like to us, that's very weird and very odd. But like like I can rationalize it. I can make that make sense to me if I had to. I can be like, okay, this is how we make sense of the world. It's it's not the same thing, but similar to at the end of life care. Like, okay, it's time for this person to go, and you just have to make that choice instead of waiting for people to be at their very end. This culture just said, okay, 72 is close enough, which weird for us, very weird, but like I don't think as big of a jump as maybe our initial thoughts would think it is.
No, I can say rationalizing the 72-year thing. Because
Yeah.
it's like you said, it's the end of life conversation, which is just a difficult conversation to have because
Yeah.
you don't like where is the line between someone's will and the will of living out your full life to the end, like
Yeah.
of the desire of other people. So yeah. Okay, so you rated this 1 star.
Oh, we're not done yet.
Oh, we're not done.
I want to talk about Christian and how he was named Christian because I think that was very intentional.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
like I think by naming Christian as such that we were able to look and juxtapose. I like that word. I think you used it first, but I was like, we're going to use that more. They were juxtaposing the traditional Western values of that's so dominated by Christianity with this group that and this is how Christianity the viewer the perceived viewer is seeing these events and then immersing into the culture. Um, but yeah, I think naming him as Christian I think was very intentional.
if he had been a better boyfriend, they would have left earlier.
Right, right.
If Christian had been a better boyfriend, they wouldn't have been in that position. Like
Yeah.
that night that she dreamed of them leaving in the car,
Mm,
they would have actually left.
sure, of course. Um, but yeah, and then at the very end we get her smiling as the building is burning and everyone is in pain because they haven't died yet in there. We have her smiling and presumably finding her family, her new family in this religious movement. What were your thoughts on this? Was this a happy ending? Was this a sad ending? How did you perceive this?
The amount of times I have seen that shot of Florence Pugh smiling, dressed in the flowers, and been like, what is the lead up to that? And to finally get there, my stomach dropped. I was like, this is sick. This
Hmm.
is, but also it's the embodiment of feminine rage to a degree, because like these guys were all kind of douches to her,
Mm,
like the men that are burning in this building. Like
sure,
they were telling her boyfriend to break up with her when she was going through a hard time. They
sure.
weren't super great to her. Like when they got there, they didn't. And it just, so on one hand, I was like, girl power. On the other hand, I was like, get out of Dodge, run. What do
Sure.
you think?
I thought this was a good example of how religious groups can create a sense of family.
Yeah.
Like her smiling, like, hear me out. Her
Okay.
smiling there at the end is showing, and hear me out,
Here.
is showing religion at its best.
Okay.
Not, what she was smiling at. That's not showing religion at its best. But the fact that she is after this, hear me out,
Hear you.
after this entire state of grief and lack of sense in the world where all of her family has died, all of her friends have died, and then she's like, well, what do I have now? And if you have this readily available group that is like, okay, come on in, we'll be your family, we'll protect you, we'll provide for you, we'll live together, it makes sense that like, okay, she's like it's showing the progression of dealing with grief and then coming to terms with that grief. I feel
Yeah.
like the movie was her experience through grief and then figuring out how to come to terms with it. And the way that she's able to come to terms with it is to be a part of this messed up group.
Is to light her boyfriend on fire.
Yeah.
I mean,
So I think in that sense, looking at it through that lens, somehow it's a happy ending for her. But I
who wrote
could
and
very
directed?
well be wrong.
Okay, so the writer and director was one person,
Right, it was
Ari
Ari
Aster.
Aster. Yeah,
He did Hereditary, which I've heard is really good.
I haven't heard of it.
Hmm. Eddington, Beau is Afraid, Begonia. Death of a Unicorn. That's a new one.
Oh, I wanted to see that. Maybe I don't now.
And it's nothing against you, sir. Beautiful
Yeah.
cinematography. Can we let's some snaps for that?
Mm,
The storyline, the gore.
yeah.
It if it was it seems it was meant to be unsettling and it achieved that.
Right. And I usually can handle like some degree of gore,
Yeah.
but something about it, I think the gore was just so vibrantly red that I was like, not for me this time.
It was in broad daylight and not in the shadows. And
Yeah. Yeah,
that's the line.
I think there was like with horror movies, because I've watched like The Conjuring and stuff like that, and like it's dark and you can't really see much, and you expect to be like uh, but rather here it's all in bright daylight. There's nothing hiding. We see everything so clearly, and I thought that okay, that's not going to make this terrifying. We'll just be watching a cool little movie, and I won't have to be like straining my eyes to figure out what's happening. Um, but no, it was very deeply unsettling.
And we made it through.
Yeah, I suppose.
It may be another year before we get to a horror movie again.
Yeah,
That has to deal with religion, but we made it through this one.
we did. We talked, very little about religion, but I think enough to justify this being on the religious treehouse.
Because I
But
didn't really, want to get into it as religion. I got to be honest.
yeah.
But should we
Uh,
should we say something? Was this a religious movie or a movie about a religion?
I don't know. I couldn't pay attention enough to figure that out. I was averting my eyes too much.
It was a movie
Um,
about a religion, a fictional
yeah,
religion, but about one
sure.
of their 90-year rituals.
But yeah, 1 star on Letterboxd. Jody?
On letter, I mean, I feel like I need to give it 4 because it had Florence in it, and I just anything Florence Pugh, I'm like, yeah, give me more.
Yeah, sure.
I
Go
I'm not
for it.
sure I'll watch it a second time, Flo, but I thought you were amazing. Florence, if you happen to hear this, you are going to be our Meryl Streep. You are our generation's Meryl
Mm,
Streep, and I firmly believe that. Thank you for blessing us with this. I like the happy movies.
yeah. Cheaty, if you're listening to this, I really liked you in The Good Place.
Really liked you in the good place. We should review that as like a show.
We should. Have you
And
seen it?
religion. Yeah.
Okay, good. It's so
Okay.
good.
All right. Well, thank
Next
you
time on
guys.
The Religious Treehouse, The Good Place. No.
Well, thank you for joining us this week. To anyone who listened, you can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, Blue Sky. Am I missing anything? No,
I
I think I
really,
got it all.
yeah. We're
Uh,
on social media.
yeah, we're on social media. We post cool things. You want to learn about Jesus's foreskin? We got a video on that.
Don't advertise that.
I want to advertise that one. I'm so proud of it.
Oh,
So thank you guys for joining us, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
bye.
We're in black for mourning of the people we were before we watched this movie.
We're in black for Halloween.
We're in mourning. Gone are those sweet summer children. We've seen
Yeah.
things.